Have you ever sat in the middle of high school math class and asked yourself, how is any of this math useful? Especially as someone who'd sometimes fall asleep to the sounds of fives, x's, and y's bouncing around the classroom, I asked myself this question quite a bit. Integrals, variables, equations, they can all feel quite distant from real life. But there's one problem that stood out to me. What is 1 divided by 0? I typed it into my calculator, math error. I typed it into my calculator again, math error. But when I graphed it, something interesting happened. When you divide 1 by 2, you get 0.5. Divide 1 by 0.1, you get 10. Divide 1 by 0.01, you get 100. As the denominator gets smaller, the result gets larger. Approach 0 and the value explodes towards infinity. A tiny denominator, massive consequences. That's when my perspective shifted. I started seeing infinity in the little things. A small habit repeated daily becomes a masterful craft. A short conversation becomes a friendship, a partnership, a movement. A few lines of code become a company worth millions. As James Clear writes in Atomic Habits, all big things come from small beginnings. The seed of every habit is a single tiny decision. And research supports this idea. A study done by the University of South Carolina suggested that 66% of our daily behaviors are habitually instigated. So much of what we achieve or fail to achieve comes from the small patterns we repeat. Yet despite knowing this, we tend to approach change in the opposite direction. How many people here have set New Year's resolutions? I hated to break it to you, but it shows that 88% of those who set New Year's resolutions fail. A study done by Richard Wiseman followed 3,000 people attempting to achieve a wide range of resolutions, including losing weight, visiting the gym, and quitting smoking. Almost everyone made huge announcements, and almost nobody succeeded. We tend to make huge declarations. I'll start tomorrow. I'll change everything this year. New year, new me. But big goals without small steps rarely last. I learned that in a very personal way when I decided to paint a mural. I knew I wanted to paint a mural, I just didn't know where to begin, until I was given the opportunity to paint one at Mother Margarita School, Kawangware. The wall was about 3.2 meters by 4 meters, or 2 people tall and the length of a Land Cruiser. At first, when I stood in front of it, it didn't look like a wall. It looked like proof I wasn't ready. Too big, too ambitious, too public. I sketched, resketched, adjusted ideas, anything except actually putting paint on the wall. Because once I began, it would be real. Then I remembered something simple, my 1 divided by 0 dilemma. Nothing happens all at once. It happens in small incremental steps. So I took a piece of chalk and I divided the wall into sections. So it wasn't 12.8 square meters, it was just 1 square. And I painted that, and another, and another, and another. 4 weeks later, the wall that once felt impossible was now covered in color. Not because I became more talented in that month, but because I stopped trying to conquer the whole wall and do it in small sections. I didn't shrink the dream. I shrank the denominator. So yes, small actions compound. But that wasn't the only thing 1 divided by 0 was trying to teach me. Because 1 divided by 0 doesn't actually have an answer. Some problems are not meant to be solved conventionally. They're meant to expand how you think. Instead of asking, what's the answer? You should start asking, what happens as I get closer? You should trade certainty for direction. And that is powerful, especially for my generation. We're often told we're supposed to have everything figured out. Which subjects to choose, which future to pursue, which career to pursue. But maybe life is less like solving for X and more like approaching infinity. You move forward through experiments, failures, and revisions. You may never touch the final point, but the growth happens in the journey towards it. So here's my invitation to you. Think about the idea in your life, the project, the dream that feels too big to begin. Don't try to conquer the whole world today. Just paint the first square, take the first step, send the first email. Shrink the denominator. Because infinity doesn't appear all at once. It appears as we approach it. Math didn't just teach me how to calculate, it taught me how to imagine. Thank you.